Doesn't turn. I'm trying. I know, man. You're getting better every lap. 20 is getting pressure from the 11. One more lap of the stage. We don't quit, boys! Man, that's cool.
And what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Historic Hot Laps. I'm your host, Alex Daniels. We had a packed summer racing roundup episode planned for you here. Whether you were at the track, watching from the couch, watching on your phone, on your favorite app, we're going to dive into some of these events, the IndyCar Streets of Toronto, NASCAR Cup and Xfinity Series at Dover Monster Mile, King's Royal Sprint Car Showdown in Eldora. So let's kick it off with IndyCar at Ontario Honda Dealers Indy Toronto. Used to be the Honda Toronto. I don't know. They changed it, but it's still Honda. It's still Toronto. So let's just start up north. Streets of Toronto delivered one of the most dramatic IndyCar races of the season so far. As we can all agree, there's been a lull in the beginning of the season, but things are really ramping up. Coming into the weekend, championship leader Alex Palou was looking to extend his lead, while Pato O'Ward was aiming to close the gap. And that's exactly what he did. Pato O'Ward in that Aero McLaren Chevrolet started 10th, executed a flawless race strategy, some good pit stops, smart calls on the tire strategy. Late race chaos held him out in the front, catapulted him up to the lead. Final caution flew just a few laps to go. He was in the perfect position to bring it home for the team, with Zach Brown being there, the boss himself. Pato showing off a little bit extra, I believe, on this one. This marks O'Ward's 9th career win and his 2nd straight victory, following his triumph at Mid-Ohio. He slashed 30 points from Palou's championship lead, bringing the title fight within reach with just 4 rounds left. It's really getting spicy, that's for sure.
Hats off to the boys and girls at Aero McLaren, also Team Chevy. We keep making our Sundays so much harder than what they have to be. Qualifying has been not our friend, but Sundays have been, and I feel like the gist of this year, for at least the 5 side, it feels like it's always a recovery Sunday. It's always been a recovery Sunday. We just keep fighting our way forward, and today it was honestly a very similar approach to what I had in Mid-Ohio. Like, we got hosed by just timing in that qualifying here. We've been struggling a bit on the alternate, which sadly is the one that you need to transfer, but I knew I had such a strong car on the preferred tire for the race, and I had a car that I could attack with. I had a car that I could really put it where I needed to, at least just to get by people. Like, we had to get really aggressive there at sometimes, and we had to get our elbows out a little bit if we want to keep this championship just somewhat of a conversation. So it's always good to feel that way, and that gives you that little extra edge to really be able to make these days come to fruition, really. So they did a great strategy, and then I made sure that was going to be the winning one.
Wasn't just about O'Ward, though. Rinus VeeKay delivered the season best finish he's had in 2nd place, middle of the podium there, while Chip Ganassi Racing rookie Kiffin Simpson stunned with a career first podium in 3rd position. Scott Dixon and Marcus Armstrong rounded out the top 5. Meanwhile, Scott McLaughlin crashed out early. Joseph Newgarden had a scary incident in turn 3. The field saw no fewer than 4 full course cautions. Was there some street chaos? Absolutely. It was a thrilling race. Leaves us with a lot of wonderment as to what's going to happen with this championship. 4 races to go. And let's talk about how valuable Rinus VeeKay has become real quick. Last guy to sign a contract for the season. Jumps over to Del Coyne, who's known for having less money in the team, right? Not that they don't put in a good effort. They brought over Michael Cannon, which helped deliver some consistency. But prior to Cannon, they were still delivering top 10s. I think he had a top 4. Just good stuff there. So can't wait to see what happens in the offseason with that. I believe Dale's probably going to try to re-sign Rinus, but we don't know where Will Power's going. And man, if anybody could probably turn that Penske program around with a good car underneath them, it'd be Rinus VeeKay. Probably one of the most talented, undervalued drivers in the paddock up to this point. So we'll see what happens with all that. Let's jump over to the NASCAR Cup Series at Dover. Concrete Coliseum, Dover Motor Speedway. NASCAR Cup Series faced off on Sunday. The race named the Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 400. Denny Hamlin, the veteran from Joe Gibbs Racing, showed why he's still a top-tier talent despite a late caution that bunched up the field and rain clouds looming over the final stage. Hamlin held off Christopher Bell and Chase Briscoe, all teammates of his, through 2 overtime restarts to claim his 4th win of the season. He did it with defensive brilliance, low line on the restarts, controlling the pace, and making his car just wide enough to shut the door every time someone came knocking. That's 4 wins in 2025, the most of any driver so far, and puts Hamlin atop the playoff picture. I also believe that's career win number 58 for him. So he's bound to hit 60. If it's not this season, it'll be next season, but he's on a roll. He's really getting after it. It's awesome to see. And there's been a lot of speculation. You know, there was 11 laps to go when they brought out the red flag for the rain and to dry the track and stuff. We're past the halfway point. Why didn't they call the race? Is it because Denny Hamlin was in the lead? The same guy who's suing NASCAR is the owner of 2311? Who knows? But either way, a couple more notable things. Bell ran strong, but overdrove turn 1 in the final lap. Briscoe nearly pulled a slide job pass in the overtime. Byron and Blaney rounded out the top 5. Ross Chastain and Tyler Reddick tangled early, sending both to the garage. And also, Ty Dillon and Ty Gibbs are your final 2 on the in-season tournament for that $1 million win. Absolutely nobody would have predicted that. So that's going to be awesome this weekend to see what happens there and who takes home that $1 million.
Yeah, that's the toughest. It's the toughest line to walk, truthfully, because if it is someone else, you don't mind running them up in the fuzz, right? If it's a teammate, you gotta sit down and you gotta see that guy tomorrow afternoon. So it's just a little different in that aspect. But when we went back, right before we went back, me and Chris were walking back to our cars, and I said, "Just don't wipe me out." I was just I was afraid with him on, we got old tires. I don't know what the grip level of the track is. I just didn't want, JGR to clean itself out and then, somebody else win it. And I think truthfully, he probably laid off of me there off of 4 and ended up wrecking himself because he didn't want to have the big contact. So, it was good, hard racing. I mean, ultimately I got the better end of all the restarts in the end, but, it was certainly stressful to have to overcome those 3 overtime finishes there, or however many cautions it was. It was a tough battle.
Let's bounce over to the Xfinity Series, the Bet Rivers 200 at Dover. One of the Saturdays saw a future NASCAR on display in the Xfinity Series, and one name is beginning to shine brighter and brighter with every race, and that's Mr. Connor Zilisch. Zilisch, just 18 years old, led 77 of the 134 laps before a rainstorm rolled in, shortened the race, but make no mistake, he was in control the entire time. This win, which is his 4th of the season, comes at an oval, no less, which critics once said wasn't his strong suit. He came over, with some sports car success and some road course stuff, but Zilisch beat out all the veterans and Eric Amarola and Brandon Jones, and it wasn't even close. Result, Zilisch climbs to 2nd in the standings, just 56 points back from Justin Allgaier, who's really slumped off as well, by the way. But he's still in the fight. Champion race is far from settled. Also another honorable mention, Sheldon Creed had a solid run going until pit road speeding penalty cost him, and Parker Kligerman ran top 10 all day. So awesome to see that there. This brings us over to the Kings Royal at Eldora Speedway. Something completely different from the paved ovals we were just talking about to this dirt royalty race. The 42nd Kings Royal at Eldora Speedway. The best sprint car drivers in the world gather to chase a $200,000 payday in honor of being crowned king. Anthony Macri, they call him the Concrete Kid, as he ruled the dirt on Saturday night. Macri led every single lap of the 40-lap feature, fending off Rico Abreu and Kyle Larson for the win. Macri's command of Eldora was nothing short of masterful. Clean air, perfect lines, no mistakes. Rico challenged a couple times, especially in lap traffic, but Macri was never rattled by it. Kyle Larson, who was doing double duty between NASCAR and dirt, came home 3rd. Brian Brown was 4th, and defending Kings Royal champ David Gravel climbed to 5th after starting mid-pack. The crown, the cape, the throne, it all belonged to Macri on the magical night at Eldora. Man, I really wanted to make this race this year, but it just wasn't in the cards to happen. But maybe next year I'll be at the Kings Royal. I've yet to see that one in person, and I really want to. So
I'm about to cry. Man, I don't know. This is honestly really special. to be able to start where we started and what me and my parents and everyone that put all the time and effort into this thing, never in a million years that I think I'd be standing up here and winning a crown jewel that's worth $200,000. But
let's wrap up with some final thoughts here. What do we learn from this weekend in motorsports? Well, in an IndyCar, award is not going to go away quietly. In Cup, Hamlin is the man to beat, and Xfinity Zillich is arriving faster than anyone expected. And sprint cars, Macri proved he's ready to join the elite ranks of those of Gravels and the Larsons and the Ricos. So, yeah, the summer stretch is heating up across every one of these competitions, whether it's street circuits, super speedways, short tracks, dirt ovals. Every weekend seems to be more and more exciting. So, yeah, just want to throw it out there, too. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, leave us a review, share it with a fellow race fan, and we'll keep this going, jump over to some news. Main topic today, Formula One Cadillac driver announcement. It is official. Cadillac set to join the F1 Sports 11 team in 2026. We've already talked about that in the past. This backing by GM and TWG Motorsports. They will debut using Ferrari power units and developing their own engine program as we speak. Brand new logo debuted at the Miami Grand Prix earlier this year. Anyway, foreshadowing into the first Cadillac driver confirmation. The first driver confirmed for Cadillac's inaugural season is Sergio Perez, Checo himself. This is according to BILD. The 35-year-old Mexican racer has finalized terms to join the team, bringing both experience and international star power. He's a very popular racer, so that'll help. With 6 Grand Prix wins under his belt, Checo brings veteran stability and potential sponsorship benefits as Cadillac stakes its claim. After a tough final year at Red Bull and parting ways last December, this offers Perez a chance to kind of rewrite the narrative, reset his career a little bit, move forward from all the Red Bull drama and all the stigma that was around him, and they've got their own problems over there, as we've seen. So what exactly was Cadillac looking for their first driver? Team boss Graham Lowden reiterated that Cadillac is targeting a blend of seasoned leadership and fresh talent to spearhead this new chapter in Formula One. They've named 7 contenders, mixing veterans like Perez, Valtteri Bottas, Mick Schumacher, and other rising stars. Rival teams are aggressively pursuing top talent as well. Cadillac wants proven performers to hit the ground running. While seeking the competitive edge, the team still maintains an open mind towards having an American driver, as stated by Andretti and GM. So let's talk about who's still in the mix over there. With Checo locked in, the big question remains who's going to be the second spot. The top candidates are Valtteri Bottas, who's obviously a steady hand, recent praise in the paddock circles, Cadillac teaser post that lit up social media. He could have been trolling everybody, who knows, but he's definitely in the top running. You have Mick Schumacher, who's backed by his racing heritage and support from Gunther Steiner. Mick's seen as a growing contender for the Cadillac team. And then let's talk about Colton Herta for a minute. The rising American star over there at IndyCar, we talk about him a lot on this show, remains under consideration, though the super license remains a hurdle. We talked about the super license on previous episodes, but I'm going to rant again for a minute. The super license is the dumbest thing, the way the point system works on that, and how IndyCar isn't ranked even a third as high as Formula One. A win in IndyCar isn't worth the back of a pack in practice in Formula One, and it really makes no sense. Like, I get it, the FIA's hands are in it, that's their baby, everything else, but the amount of skill set it takes to get a super license isn't apples to apples. You've got 17-year-olds coming out who are talented nonetheless. I'm not going to say they're not, but they qualify for super license because of their European stuff. But because Colton Herta's racing in North America Series, racing harder tracks a lot of times, going faster speeds with less assistance, talking power steering, brake assist, all that stuff that goes along with Formula One versus IndyCar ran. I won't get into that, but physically demanding race, and he's barely eligible half the time because he hasn't won recently, or he finished second in the points championship last year in IndyCar, but still is barely on the outskirts of a super license. It's fucking stupid, and it doesn't make any sense. It's just an anti-American play by the Formula One FIA organization. If you ask my opinion, that's going to be it. You can disagree. We can disagree. We can have separate opinions. That's great. Just my thoughts are it's stupid. So carrying on, add in Bottas, Schumacher, Colton Herta. Cadillac's grid is building this puzzle piece that's starting to take shape. So we'll see what happens with all that. Let's talk about the reactions to the announcement. The announcement is more than team building. It's a signal that F1 American expansion is firing on all cylinders. Veteran like Perez brings global audience appeal, while Chevy and GM power ensures a serious engineering commitment. With talk of American driver and continued U.S. race expansion, Cadillac is part of F1's deepening anchor in North America. The coming months, we expect Cadillac to announce driver number 2, likely one of those that we just talked about. They're going to probably run their initial car testing late this year, early 2026. Reveal some race liveries, detail a technical package ahead of March's Australian Grand Prix. So countdown is on. Cadillac's debut is officially headed to the grid Q1 of 2026. So yeah, I mean, the season campaign with Sergio Perez and Star Allure leaves one seat to remain. Several contenders poised for that position. Behind them stands deep-pocketed GM-backed entry. Aimed squarely at challenging for podiums, not just participation. So excited to see it. Hopefully we get something good out of that and get ourselves another American driver in Formula One.
Just 22 years old, looking for his first career win. Final lap. Could this be the day for Greg Moore and the players team from Canada? Moore thinks he hasn't won with his fist in the air. He takes the checkered flag and resets the record as youngest winner of a PPG Kart World Series event.
It's our first win. I'm so happy.
Blundell in the middle of the racetrack. Defensive position. Michael Andretti doing the same in what is now third place. And Blundell slows. Moore is in the lead. Blundell is out of fuel. Victory. Second straight win for Greg Moore. Greg Moore draws to a couple of car lengths away, and he will win the US 500.
How much patience did you have to practice today?
None.
Now let's talk some history. This one's a pretty special one. Today we're going to take a detour the latest race weekend to honor a legend whose life and career, though tragically short, left a lasting mark on motorsport history. This episode is a tribute to the late Greg Moore. Figured it was nothing better than after the Canadian race to honor Greg Moore. If you're around in the late 1990s, Greg Moore was one of the brightest young stars in the world of open racing. In the world, fearless and blistering fast. Moore was on the brink of superstardom when his life was tragically cut short at the age of 24. Yet in just a few short seasons, he captured the attention of fans and the respect of legends. Born in New Westminster, British Columbia in 1975, Greg Moore began racing go-karts at just 10 years old. His father, Rick, ran a karting track. By the time Greg was 16, he was the youngest winner of the North America Formula Ford Championship. In 1993, he transitioned to Indy Lights, the developmental ladder series to kart at the time, and made history by winning the Indy Lights Championship in 1995 with a then record of 10 wins out of 12 races. That dominance made it clear that Moore was ready for the big leagues. In 1996, Greg Moore joined the Kart World Series with Forsyth Racing at just 21 years old. He was immediately competitive, but it was in 1997 that he truly broke through at the Milwaukee Mile. Moore scored his first kart career victory, becoming the youngest winner at the time in series history. He followed that up with another win later that year at Detroit. With his signature blue Players Forsyth car and trademark red gloves, Moore became a fan favorite almost overnight. He had a smooth, calculated style on ovals and wasn't afraid to go wheel to wheel with the series' elite drivers of the time. And this was a time when the paddock was stacked with talent. By 1998, Moore had established himself as a legitimate title contender. He took wins at Rio de Janeiro and Michigan, and later a particularly memorable 500-mile race that showcased his skill and stamina in high-speed, high-stakes environment. He was respected by all. What made Greg Moore special wasn't just his results, it was how he carried himself. He was known as one of the nicest guys in the paddock, Respected by veterans like Alan Sir Jr. and admired by rising stars like Dario Franchitti and Tony Kanaan, had the rare ability to blend sheer talent and genuine humility to his racecraft. Franchitti, who was one of Moore's closest friends, once described him as a brother. They vacationed together, trained together, and shared big dreams about the future of motorsport together. Moore was even slated to join Team Penske in 2000, a seat that could have taken him to multiple championships and Indy 500 victories, without a doubt. I don't think anyone will question that statement. Nothing could be more true. If he had Penske power back then, he would have definitely got himself a 500 victory and a championship. This brings us to the tragic day at Fontana, October 31st, 1999, the season finale at California Speedway in Fontana. Moore, who had broken his hand in a scooter accident just days before, was racing with a specially modified hand brace and started at the back of the grid. On lap 9, disaster struck. Moore lost control of his car at over 200 miles per hour, slid across the grass in turn 2 and hit the inside wall super violently. The impact was devastating. He was pronounced dead shortly after the crash. The racing world was in shock. Tributes poured in from around the globe. His car, number 99, was retired by CART in his honor. And for many, it felt like not just the loss of a driver, but a loss that could have been a generational great and motorsport legend. Greg Moore's legacy lives on in more ways than one. Greg Moore Foundation was established to support young athletes and students. The Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame inducted him shortly after his passing, and his memory is honored annually during races in Canada. Drivers like James Hinchcliffe, another proud Canadian, often cite Moore as childhood hero. His helmet design, the blue and white with the stylized G, remains one of the most iconic in motorsports history. There's a bittersweet what if that lingers in Moore's story, but more of that. There's a celebration of what was achieved, 5 CART wins, and a lights-out Indy Lights title, a seat at the table with the best business by the age of 24, and a reputation that endures over 2 decades later. Just a legend of the sport. And sad that we lost him the way we did and so soon. Let's try to turn the mood a little bit. Let's just talk about the stats that Greg Moore was able to rack up over the years. Greg joined Indy Lights full-time in 93. His rookie season, he finished 9th in the standings with 1 podium. 1994, he came back strong, finishing 2nd in the championship, scoring 3 wins and 7 podiums in just 12 races. Then in 95, well, that was his breakout year. 12 races, 10 wins, 11 podiums, 7 pole positions. Out of 12 races, there was only 1 race he wasn't in the top 3. That's insane. That gave him the Indy Lights Championship by a landslide, and to this day, that 10-win season remains one of the most dominant performances in series history. His overall stats for Indy Lights: 34 starts, 13 wins, 23 podiums, 10 poles, a win rate of 38%, which is insane, over 3 years, and a podium rate of nearly 68%. Just an incredible stat. His CART career, however short-lived, is also impressive. 72 races between 1996 and 1999, 5 wins, 17 podiums, 5 pole positions, 5 fastest laps. Championship best in 1998, ended the championship in 5th place, 456 career points overall. His rookie season, he had 1 podium where he got 3rd at Nazareth, became the youngest driver to lead a lap in a CART race at that time. In 97, he had 1 win at the Milwaukee Mile and 3 poles, became the youngest winner in CART history at that time at 22 years old. In 1998, he had 2 wins at Rio de Janeiro and the Michigan 500. He had 6 podiums, finished 5th in the championship. And then his final season in 1999, he had 2 wins, a win at Homestead and a win at Gateway. Sadly, it would be his last season due to that tragic crash in Fontana. One thing to emphasize, though, is despite never racing for a top-tier powerhouse like Penske or Ganassi, Moore was consistently in the mix and outperformed expectations. His aggressive, precise driving, especially on ovals, was admired by fans and feared by competitors. Greg Moore's stats are impressive, but they don't tell the whole story. What those numbers represent is just as important. 5 wins in 4 seasons, often against stacked fields, consistently qualifying in the top 10. He started inside the top 10 in 46 of 72 races. His oval dominance was notable. 4 of his 5 CART wins came at ovals, showcasing his fearlessness and control at high speeds. And that was, those that don't know the history of it, that was the generation of the fastest cars that we've seen. I mean, we're talking 1,000 horsepower rocket ships. Paul Tracy often talks about that generation of car and how incredible it was to drive We've heard Catherine Legg talk about how that was her favorite time to drive, was those early 2000 Lolas, which were coming off of this same kind of era. I mean, just fearlessness, absolute fearlessness. Had he not suffered tragically, Moore was set to join Team Penske in 2000. With their resources and engineering talent, I can't even imagine how many wins and championships we could have added to his resume. It's just crazy. In just 7 years of professional racing, Greg Moore put up numbers that many drivers only dream of. 107 open wheel starts, 18 total wins, 40 podiums, 15 pole positions, a win every 6 races, a podium nearly every 3rd race. He was quite simply just built for greatness. That's really all we can say about it. It's just insane. But yeah, Moore raced with heart, with elegance, and with a future that seemed limitless. Though that future was tragically cut short, the mark he made on motorsports was undeniable. We remember him not just for the laps led, but for the lives he touched. On and off the track, Greg Moore was everything that a race car driver should be. And with that, we're going to wrap that up. Thank you, Greg Moore, for the time you had in the sport. And thank you all for joining me on this special tribute segment here after the Indy and Toronto race. It just seemed appropriate that was who stood out on our list of profiles to do here on Historic Hot Laps. I'm Alex Daniels. Until next time, stay safe. Never take a single lap for granted. Thanks for tuning in.